Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Lisa Alistway, and on this channel, you will find a variety of inspirational and informational videos. My guest today is Tamsen Fadal. Tamsen is an author, a storyteller, a newscaster, and entrepreneur. Tamsen also hosts a podcast called Coming Up Next and is the author of The New Single, which delivers tools, insights, and hope to other women in the midst of their own divorce experience. I will be linking her website down below for your reference. Welcome, Tamsen.
Oh, thank you so much. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to talk to you today about all things bold.
Oh, yes. That's the only way to be, right?
Absolutely. So first things first, how do you define bold?
You know what? I think it's having no fear, but having no fear after you've moved through that door. I keep saying in my mind, I have to unlock my bold. And I think, we all have it somewhere in there. We all have that bold. And I feel like we've got to move through this little keyhole, unlock it and get to the other side. And that's what I feel like it is. And I think it's defined differently for everybody. I found mine after I went through a very painful divorce. Some people find it when they lose a job. Some people, have it when they're, just trying to get through a big life change or transition. And so that word I kept running up against that word all the time, every time I had a big change in my life. And it sort of stuck with me. It sort of stuck with me.
Yes, I think, you had a milestone birthday recently, turning 50.
Yes.
And I think for a lot of
That
people,
was bold.
that is a bold time because, it's a midlife evaluation. And
Sure.
I think sometimes people have to think about, maybe, like you said, there's some changes that I'm going through, maybe voluntarily, maybe involuntarily. And so the best thing to do is, think about being bold at this time in life versus maybe other times in life.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I think turning 50 was a big deal for me. Talking about it openly was a big deal for me because I don't think we did that for a very long time. We always want to, we're in a society where we want to anti-age and stay young and not really talking about it and, filter our faces and always look look like we did 20 years ago. And so I think it's a difficult time. There's a time of a lot of acceptance. There was for me anyway. It was the same year I actually got married after, a divorce several years before. I never thought that would happen again. And so, yeah, it was a pivotal time for me, but an exciting time, and a time also that I've realized that, I say these words, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Because I feel like I'm on this other side of being so panicky and anxious about everything. So there's a little bit of a relief in all of it as well.
Most definitely. And I think, for a lot of people to kind of push through those doors, those barriers, they have to kind of see beyond that. So what would you say would be some things to kind of overcome the fear of being bold?
I think that everything comes down to consistency and habit. It really does. I think at the end of the day, when you've done something over and over again and start to make habits of how you want your life to look and how you want it to lay out and who you want to be in a year from now or 5 years from now, that gives you a confidence and gives you that bold. I learned that from my 82-year-old father, who said, the days that you don't feel like you're confident is because you have not developed those habits. Habits give you confidence. Consistency gives you confidence. And those are really true words and words that I try to live by. So if I'm not feeling good about something or feeling insecure about it or feeling afraid or not confident, I try to start developing habits, little ones. It's not about a big New Year's resolution, little ones to help me become a little more confident and then become bold.
Most definitely. So I know you have some steps that would help you unlock your being bold. Can we go through those, starting with decluttering your mind?
Yes, I think that it's just so huge. We are filled with a whole bunch of noise, right? We're running in all different directions. And I think that the biggest fear that I have anyway is that I'm so caught up in everything that's going on and every distraction that I'm not really paying attention to where I am. And so I think you really do have to declutter that. And everybody does it in a different way. I'm a big list person. I'm somebody that really has to stay focused. I need that help to be able to stay focused. And so that's super important for me to be able to declutter, where I am and what's going on so I can pay attention to really what's important.
Yes. And I know, if your house is in clutter, it zaps you of your energy. So I think the
No
same
question.
analogy could be made to your mind. If it's just full of stuff, you've got to clear it out to only what's important.
Yeah, there's no question about that at all. I try to pretty much a minimalist, and I really try to keep things very streamlined. And I notice even if my bed is not made in the morning, or something as silly as my, nightstand is a big mess. I'm like frazzled by it all. So I think that that's important. And I think that helps you get to that next step, and those help habits develop, right? And so it's kind of like my personal Marie Kondo for the mind, because if your mind is stuck, you cannot clearly see what's next.
Yes. And so next you say to unlock your bold, you should be honest with your goals. What do you mean by
Yeah.
that?
Well, I think we find ourselves sometimes working in a direction of one thing, and then it kind of keeps us busy, but we only realize it's not the real end game that we were looking for. So I think you have to really be honest about that in what matters to you, what's going to have an impact on your life, what's going to have an impact on your family's life. Where do you really want to be in a year from now? What do you want your morning? What do you want to wake up like? How do you want to wake up in the morning? How do you want to end your day? I think we have to be honest with ourselves, because and I find myself do it a lot. I get caught up in a phone conversation with somebody else's goals or dreams or ambitions or whatever they're doing. And then all of a sudden, a week in or 2 days in, I go, well, why am I doing this? I didn't even want to do this ever. So I think it's important to really be honest with ourselves. And that goes back to decluttering your mind, so you have less noise in there and you can actually hear what it is you want.
Yes. And I think also, like, when setting goals and being honest with yourself, you need to acknowledge like your flaws, your weaknesses,
Mhm.
everything. And it's not only being honest with yourself, but also others. It's very bold to be honest, period. That's a bold activity.
Yeah, it's scary. I'll tell you what, it really is. But when you do it, you feel so good.
Yes. Next one is to quit comparing yourself.
Mm. You know, I think this has gotten more prevalent. I'm a Gen X girl, and
Me
so
too.
we didn't have the social media. We didn't have we had a phone call, or we had somebody that was popular in school, or somebody that was working a cool job, but we didn't have scrolling and liking and hearting and ticking and talking. And we didn't have all that. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate and love social media for a lot of the different benefits that it brings. But you have to also determine what it is that makes you unique and makes you different. And if you don't figure that out, and you don't not only figure it out, but appreciate it and embrace it, then
Mhm.
you're always at a deficit.
Most definitely. I think that's a really good tip because, you can't compare your weakness with somebody else's strength that they're showing on social media. And
Mm-mm.
so if you can get inspiration from social media, great, but
Right.
keep it compartmentalized and don't compare. Next one is you say live your someday today.
Yes. This really happened when I turned maybe 49 to 50. But, we go around all the time saying, someday I'm going to travel a lot. Someday I'm going to run a marathon. Someday I'm going to start that online course, learn a new language. That someday is right now. We're not promised anything. We're not promised tomorrow, next week, next year. And I think that and that doesn't mean to be frivolous and crazy, quit your job and, run all over the world. But you really do have to think about, what do you want that someday, and start working toward that today. And what could you start right now to make that happen?
Definitely being bold means being decisive, and I think you have to break through those fears that we mentioned earlier, so that you don't stay in the what ifs and the some days, because, like you
Mhm.
said, you can get definitely stuck there. The last one is don't be perfect, be pleased.
Yes. Yeah. I bring this back to my dad again. He said to me one day, "You're so afraid to fail. It doesn't have to be perfect to get started." And I said, "Wait, what? Do you read memes now on Instagram?" But this is just, it's knowledge and it's experience, and it's what it is. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to let go achieve goals, but you don't have to get so wrapped up in the details that you never get started or you never accomplish what you're going after. And I think that I find that with a lot of people that I talk to. And I talk to a lot of women's groups that say, like, I'm so stuck, I don't know where to go next, what's next now, what big words. And every once in a while we have to be thankful for where we are, be pleased with where you are. It doesn't mean this is it, this is the only thing you have to give and it's all over from here. But I think if you give yourself a little bit of thanks, be kind to yourself, just like you're kind to other people, you can move on to that next step. You can be pleased with yourself. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect. And I don't even
Yes.
know if there's such a thing as perfect, quite frankly.
Right, right. And, and being bold, you're taking actions, and sometimes you'll have failures, and that's where being kind, like you said, is so
Oh,
important. I think it's sometimes more of a failure not to try. It's
yeah,
not the
oh,
failure
of
per
course.
se.
What
So
regret do you have when you don't try something? You really do. Even if you look back to when you were younger, you just got out of school or you were doing your first job, every once in a while, you look back and go, gosh, why didn't I try that when I was, 26 years old, 22 years old? And so you just don't want to get into that. And I think you got to keep moving forward because all these are lessons. And, quite frankly, at the end of the day, it's about your experiences and it's about your relationships. It's not how many likes, it's not how many downloads, it's not how many whatever it is, but it comes down to the basics at the end of the day, no matter how far we go in technology and how far we go in success, whatever success means.
yes, yes. So do you have some bold role models that you look up to, and who are they?
I do. I keep bringing up my father, which I spent a lot of time with him actually over this Christmas holiday, and I keep bringing him up. He lost his first wife, my mom, when he was 50 years old, and then he just recently this year lost my stepmom, both to breast cancer. And I look at him and I go, what is bolder than getting out of bed in the morning and having to start another day after loss like that? He's just gone to the top of my list. I mean, I've always worshiped my father, but he's really gone to the top of my list, there, because I mean, what else is there at the end of the day beside that love and those relationships? And to have both those gone, and for him to still be able to get up every day and to smile and to appreciate the day, I find that extremely bold. And then, I've been really blessed to interview a lot of incredible women and a lot of incredible people who are change makers out there. And I don't know if I single one out in particular, but I think there were several that I'm just really always impressed with. Somebody whose book I read just recently, Norma Kamali, wrote the book I Am Invincible. And I don't know, I worship what she's done. She just continues through the decades to appreciate each one of them and then still be real about it. And that's nice to see. It's nice to see somebody that appreciates the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and let you know it's okay to get older and it's okay to pro-age and it's okay to still believe you can do anything that you want to do until we're not here anymore.
Yes, most definitely. You had mentioned that you lost your mother to breast cancer. I know that's an important topic to you.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering if you have any encouraging, bold advice for somebody who's going through a chronic condition or supporting somebody through a chronic condition.
Yeah, I think I know a lot more about supporting somebody through it, and because I was there for both my mother and most recently for my stepmother, and I just think at the end of the day, it's not to I found myself at some points trying to solve the problem. Like, I'm going to solve it. I'm going to help it make it better. And I think sometimes that puts additional stress on somebody. And I said, so I decided, this time around when I was sitting, next to my stepmom and going there to visit her, is to just make each moment as enjoyable and stress-free as possible and try to have that healthy outlook and try to be encouraging, because at the end of the day, that's what we have. And that's what I was able to do. I couldn't cure something, but I could help I could help make her feel a little bit better, and instead of make myself feel better by achieving something by helping her.
Awesome. Very good. One more question. So your book is called The New Single Book, and it helps women going through a divorce. And divorce is
Yeah.
very common, 1 in 2 marriages end in divorce. And there's a lot of people that are going through one currently. I know you've gone through one. What bold advice, tips, insights would you give to somebody who's dealing with this right now?
I got this from somebody that I wasn't particularly fond of, but gave me great advice. And he gave me a big hug after I had my divorce came out in the papers and stuff. And he said, it's not going to be like this 1 year from now, 365 days from now. It's just not going to be like this. And I thought, oh, every day is a million hours, it felt like. And he was right. I think that I think you learn a lot. I think that these big life changes and transitions are just the way they are. And those happen. And no matter, there's a lot of heartbreak, but there's also a lot of lessons that come in these times of change. And I think you have to go forward and figure out what that is going to be for you. And you have to forgive yourself. If you're upset with yourself, or I don't know, not feeling like you failed somehow, you have to forgive yourself and move forward, because that is an energy suck and that is not going to move you forward in any other way. When I went through my divorce, I took it 90 days at a time, because that was the only way that I could sort of figure out what the next part of my life was going to be. Change my environment, change my friend structure, figure out how I was going to live my life differently, make sure I stayed healthy and what I was eating and what I was doing and my habits. And those were all really important things to keep a structure when I was going through a big change like that.
Yes, most definitely. And you're not alone if somebody is going through this. A lot of people have experienced this. For my
True.
own, because I've gone through a divorce, a sense of humor is one of the best things that helped me
Yeah.
through it because,
Yeah.
life, you got to find the irony side of life, and not take everything so seriously. And, it's always a new day, a new year, new things, new doors that'll be opening for you. So great
Yeah, there's no
advice.
question about that. I think the most important thing you can do is fall back in love with yourself first, not try to give yourself that pressure to get back out there and find somebody because you don't want to make the same mistake. You don't want to be going after the same type of person or the same person or just be in a relationship premature. So it was really important that I figured out who I was and I liked myself again.
Yes, awesome, awesome. Any last minute bold advice or tips you want to give the audience?
Oh, I think lift each other up. I think that that's the boldest thing somebody can do instead of compete and compare. I think that that is something that at the end of the day, when you put your head down on the pillow at night, it just makes you feel like a person that you want to be. And I think that it helps lift you up as well.
Oh, awesome. Well, you lifted me up today by
Oh,
appearing
good.
on my
Thanks.
podcast. So I appreciate that. And
Thank you so much.
yes, and if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to share and subscribe and hit the bell to be alerted to when the next video drops. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Tamsin.
Thank you.